The 2019 Daytona 500, was it a hit? Was it a miss? Was it something that you should really have watched, or was it something you better have turned over the channel and seen what's on the other side? Well, I think in this expert opinion, I think it was actually a rather good race, to be honest. I also think that the new aero package, that got its first true test. So let's kick off this race review of the Daytona 500. So, all in all, the Daytona 500, I think, was a rousing success for the new aero package. And there was a lot of talk about the aero package going in. Certainly from the races they had at the Clash, it was just single file racing throughout, and then at the end, a great big crash. I believe there was something said during the driver's briefing, go out there and make it look spectacular. Well, they did. We had two side-by-side racing, we had side drafting, we had free wide racing towards the end of the race, which did get a little hairy in places. We won't mention any names, but we'll just say Paul Menard, Ricky Stenhouse. Why is it whenever there's always a big crash, those two are involved somehow? But like I said, there was a lot of talk going in about this new aero package, but cars were able to go too wide, they were able to side draft without a problem. I think personally, you know, the Clash was a pointless and meaningless two races. It was always going to be that the first true test was going to be the Daytona 500, and I think personally it's past that test. It'll get its next big test at Atlanta next weekend, because they're expecting side by side and pack racing at Atlanta. Personally, I hope it is, because Atlanta has been known to be a bit of a forlorn conclusion once the race leader gets out there and starts running around. Most notably, it's probably Kevin Harvick. But yeah, I think if we can get pack racing at Atlanta, that's gonna spice up this season, and then people are gonna start turning around and saying, "Oh, the Gen 2 car." Not Gen 2 car, it's the Gen 7 car. What a rousing success. So let's talk briefly about the race itself, and all in all there was quite a lot of cautions, which you'd normally expect at Daytona. Some cautions were iffy, some cautions were inevitable. First caution came on lap number 32, when Cora the Joy's right front tyre decided, you know what, I've had enough for the day, and besides, I can't stand racing around with your ugly mug on the front of that car. I mean, come on, guy. What? How much did Corey LaJoie have to be coerced to put his mug on the front of that car, knowing what could have happened to that car in the race? And then what happened? It went and happened. His right front exploded, and that was the end, practically the end of his race. I think he finished a few laps down towards the end of it. Then on lap 50, stage number 1, and the inevitable happens. That's right, Ricky Reckhouse strikes again. Ricky Reckhouse said he didn't turn the one. If you look at the replays, it looks like it's a very, very minute tap. But certainly there was some contact of some sort, because around goes Kurt Busch, making his debut for Chip Ganassi in the one car with the Monster Energy sponsorship. He spins into Bubba Wallace in the 43 for Richard Petty, and the unfortunate person that got took out was Jamie McMurray in the number 40. And that, well, it didn't end his race because he was there towards the end of the race, but yeah, inevitably Ricky Stenhouse strikes again. So the next caution happened on lap 107. We went to 50 whole laps without a proper caution. I wouldn't really count the caution between stage 1 and stage 2, because it's not really a caution at the end of the day, is it? It's just a calming down period so that everyone can go and get some pits of some sort. But lap 107, Parker Kligerman and Casey Mears make contact, bringing out the caution, which resulted in the 27 of Kligerman being spun around and sent for a loop. If you listen to Parker Kligerman, he blames Casey Mears for turning into him. If you listen to Casey Mears, he blames Parker Kligerman for not giving him the room. Sorry, Casey, but Parker was on your outside, practically clear, and you just go, "Ray, bye-bye." I mean, Casey Mears is past it. I mean, he last raced in 2016. I think that was for the 13 team with the Geico sponsorship. But, come on, Casey. It's time to hang it up now. It really is time to hang it up. Then, lap 159. Out comes caution number 4. And Cody Ware and BJ McLeod do their version of synchronized spinning and practically go down the pit lane. They collect a whole number of cars, including Jimmy Johnson, who had his whole rear left quarter panel sheared off from the impact. And I know there's been a lot of people getting on Cody Ware's back because he's the son of Rick Ware. But there's no point in putting this kid in the car. He's not good enough. He's just another rich, spoilt kid who wanted to ride in NASCAR. Oh, daddy, daddy, please can I drive? Please can I drive? He's like NASCAR's version of Lance Stroll. Daddy bought him a race team so he could have a competitive car. Well, Daddy bought him a race car and his car was pretty naff. So, Cody Ware, just give it up. Rick Ware Racing, go and find someone better than Cody bloody Ware. Because, quite frankly, he doesn't cut the mustard. Caution number 5 was on lap 174, and this was actually for debris. One of the cars had lost a big old chunk of metalwork. I want to say, excuse me, I want to say that the piece of debris, when I saw it, it looked very silver. It almost looked like it came off Eric Almirola's car. But we never did get to the bottom of who it came. Like I say, I want to say it was Eric Almirola, but it looked like his car was in one piece. Well, certainly in one piece until lap 190. Then comes lap 180, caution number 6. And this time it's for another tyre-related issue, and it's Kyle Larson in the 42 for Chip Ganassi, spinning it and sending it into the wall hard. And to be fair, Daytona just wasn't Kyle's weekend. He'd been struggling with that car all weekend, certainly through the clashes, certainly through the duels, and certainly through the race as well. It looked like it was a proper handful for young Kyle. And I hope that they get it sorted, because Kyle Larson, I think, was the unsung hero of 2018. Yes, we could talk about Kyle Busch, and we could talk about Martin Truex, and we could talk about Kevin Harvick's domination, but Kyle Larson at least got up there. When he raced Kyle Busch, he raced him hard, and I think he was unlucky not to make it into certainly the later stages of the chase. But yeah, hopefully he can bounce back at Atlanta, and they can get all the problems that were with the problems at Daytona sorted out. Then, lap 186, the next caution number 7, and another tyre issue, another left rear tyre going down, this time on the deuce of Brad Keselowski. And I found it very interesting. I was watching the 500 and said Brad Keselowski's never won the Daytona 500. And I thought to myself, what? And you think that surely a guy like Brad Keselowski would have won the Daytona 500, but he hasn't even won a race at Daytona from the sounds of it. I mean, I personally think if he hasn't won a race at Daytona, that's just a shocker. So, like I said, another left rear tyre. It wasn't Keselowski's weekend either. He'd been struggling. But Daytona, it's not really a benchmark for cars. It's more when you get to Atlanta next weekend. That's where your benchmark is. And then caution number 8, and we've been waiting for it all race, and the inevitable finally happened on lap 190, the big one. And if I'm being honest, I've seen some absolute crashes in my time, but that one was probably the most violent crash I have ever seen in my entire life. It all started when Paul Menard span Matt DiBenedetto into the wall, and I will go on record right now. Matt DiBenedetto is going to win a race this year. He just looked, and I'd seen him racing the 32, and he looked pretty good then. But he had a standout race at Daytona, and I hope that with the Gibbs package all behind the 95 and Levine Family Racing, I hope that he does get his break eventually, because he was on it. And I do hope that he wins a race this year. Maybe if it's not this year, he'll definitely be next year. But it was his spin from contact with Paul Menard that put him into the wall, and that set off the chain reaction, which included David Reagan's car just being torn to absolute hell, and it ended up with Eric Almirola in the 10 up onto his front wheels on the bonnet of David Reagan. It was literally, as soon as cars were piling, it was just piling, and that is the big one at Daytona. Once one car spins, you are going to be so lucky if you're not caught up in it. And it should be said, who was it? It was Ryan Preece in the 47. He did an absolute job just threading the needle through right on the bottom lane, because he had cars coming in woo, 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 like that, and he just absolutely dodged the bullets. So fair play to Ryan. He had a good race, but yeah, that was probably the most violent big one I'd ever seen in my life. In caution number 9 on lap 194, saw the 17, yep, Ricky Reckhouse was at it again, and Kyle Larson in the 42 make contact, and it was literally on as soon as they hit each other. It looked like that the 17 got into the 42 span, and in the end he just got taken out, wiped out completely. But at Daytona, it's inevitable that Ricky Reckhouse is going to be involved in wrecks, and he was on that occasion. So Ricky Stenhouse will not win the Daytona 500, nor should he ever win the Daytona 500. And then the final caution, caution number 10 on lap 198, which saw another driver that really should never be in a NASCAR, Michael McDowell, in the 34 turn. Who was it he turned? He turned the 14 of Clint Boyer, and we had another big one happen afterwards, because it just set off another chain reaction, one that Ryan Preece couldn't evade this time. And that was it from there. They red flagged the set. They did red flag it after the big one on 190. They red flagged it again after the 198 crash. It brought out a green-white checkered finish, and it meant that Denny Hamlin won the Daytona 500 from Kyle Busch and Eric Jones. If you watched my video where we did a spoof of the 500, you'll see I did predict a Joe Gibbs 1-2-3, just not that Joe Gibbs 1-2-3. So we almost are on to a winner there. Let's talk about Denny Hamlin's victory for a second. It's his second Daytona 500 victory. He won in 2016 and then won again 2019, and I think it was rather fitting that Denny won the Daytona 500, because last year we lost JD Gibbs for the Joe Gibbs team to a neurological disorder, and he wore a tribute to JD Gibbs on the side of his car. You may have seen him at the end of the race give it a tap as he got back into the car, and there was a very nice and very fitting tribute on lap number 11, when the cameras, they focused on the captain, Coach Gibbs, and you could see he was trying very, very hard not to cry, and you could also tell, because they had the commentary on at the same time, that Michael Waltrip, he was trying not to let his emotions get the better of him as well. But I think it was rather fitting that JD's car, the number 11, it went to victory lane. And I know he would have been looking down for the best seat in the house, and he would have thought, that's my boy. That's my boy, Denny. Well done. And I do hope that he enjoyed that race, because if he didn't enjoy that race, then I wouldn't know what to say. But all in all, Daytona, I think it was rather a good race. So that is going to do it for this roundup. I hope you did enjoy this one. It is my first attempt at a NASCAR race review. I have watched a lot of NASCAR races in the past, so I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to compare me to a lot of people, but please don't. I'm not into the business of being compared. I'm just giving this a go and seeing what's what. So the next race will be the Quick Trip Falls-Runner 500 from Atlanta Motor Speedway. I hope you'll join me for that roundup when we get to it. But until next time, thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you have any advice, any comments, do feel free to leave them, and I will take them all on board, no problem. Until next time, we will see you all in Victory Lane.